Hello, my name is Jacob, and welcome to Sleep Theorist. The room around you is quiet now. The world outside has softened. The noise has faded into a low hush, like the sea held far away behind glass. You feel the weight of your body sinking gently into the mattress. Each breath slows. Each thought begins to stretch out, like light trailing across calm water. Somewhere in that stillness, your mind lifts, not high, not fast, just a quiet rising, as if a part of you detaches softly from everything else and begins to drift. You are still here, in this bed, in this room, but you are also somewhere else, now somewhere smaller, somewhere stranger. You don't walk through a doorway. You pass through it, not with effort, not with intention, but with the same gentleness that a sigh leaves your lips. The threshold isn't made of wood or stone. It isn't even there, really. It's a boundary drawn by expectation, what should be, what can't be. And yet you are on the other side now. You've entered the world beneath the world. Here, the rules are not what you've always known. They are softer, more fluid. They don't break, they shimmer. This is the quantum realm, a place where particles are not just things, but possibilities, where movement happens not because of force, but because of a quiet permission, arrived in the space where the smallest things exist. Electrons, protons, photons, these are the flickers of being that make up everything, including you. And here, in this hidden place, the rules are as dreamlike as they are real. You are floating past atoms now. They look nothing like marbles or orbits, nothing like the textbook diagrams from school. They are clouds, blurred whirls of maybe. You reach toward one, and it does not resist you, but neither does it settle in your hand. It dances around the idea of being touched, and then you see it. A wall, not a wall, like in your room, not brick or wood or glass. It's more like a hill of energy, a place, the particle before you should not be able to cross. Its energy is too low. It does not have enough force to climb over. The rules say it should stop here, but it doesn't. It pauses, flickers, and then it's gone. A moment later, it reappears on the other side. This is quantum tunneling. The particle did not break the wall. It did not go over or around it. It went through not by force, but by being uncertain enough to exist in two places at once. It tunneled because at this scale, reality is not a hard surface. It is a probability cloud, a blur of what might be, and the wall. The wall was never solid at all. You float closer, watching more particles perform the same strange magic. Not all of them make it. Some bounce off, some vanish, but some just enough slip through. It is not luck, not rebellion. It is simply the way the world works. When it's small enough, quiet enough, when it stops pretending to be solid, you begin to wonder if something so small can move through a barrier without touching it. What else might be possible? You think of the places inside yourself where you've built walls of fear, of doubt, of tiredness, not by strength, but by softness, by being uncertain enough to try. By existing in more than one state and letting the odds tip just enough, you drift further now, past the particle, through the wall, with it. There is no push, no crack, no struggle, just possibility unfolding. And as you move, you begin to feel a strange kind of intimacy. This isn't just a story about distant particles. This is happening inside you. Every atom in your body obeys these same hidden rules. The electrons around your cells are waves. The molecules in your breath shimmer with uncertainty. You are not separate from this world. You are made of it. You imagine, for a moment, being the particle, light enough to move without mass, soft enough to slip through barriers. What might that feel like? Not freedom in the usual sense, but something deep. Sense that you are not fixed, not trapped. You are allowed to exist where you are not expected. Your body lies still, but your mind continues, moving gently, thinking gently. You picture the stars now, the ones you sometimes forget to look at. Even they are bound by these rules. The sun shines because of tunneling. Hydrogen atoms deep inside it press close, close enough that they should repel. But then one tunnels. It passes through an energy barrier that should be impossible. Fusion begins. Light is born. Your days are lit by impossible things, happening all the time. And so are your dreams. You've passed through the first veil now. The veil of assumption, of surface understanding. You see that nature, at its smallest level, is not rigid, it is patient. It is open to unlikely paths. You begin to feel the layers of yourself softening, layers of logic and expectation, not disappearing, but bending, just enough to let new wonder in. You breathe, and that breath feels connected to something older, deeper. Not everything must be forced. Not every wall must be climbed. Sometimes you simply pass through, and as you drift in this thought, you notice the space around you shift. It's not quite a change, it's more like a deepening, a new layer of stillness beneath the one you knew before. You are being invited further, not by anyone, not by voice or sign, but by the feeling that there is more beneath this, more softness, more mystery, more of the world that exists behind the curtain of what we expect. You follow that invitation now, slowly. Where does a particle go when it's not here or there but both? What world waits beneath the one we know? You're ready to find out. Lie still. Your body rests gently in the quiet cradle of the night, wrapped in softness. Around you, everything seems calm, solid. The bed supports you. The floor does not shift. The walls stand quietly where they always do. There is comfort in this certainty. But below that calm, far, far below, something else stirs. Not chaos, not noise, but motion, subtle, constant, a hidden dance. You drift downward, not through space, but through scale. You fall inward, gently, deeper into the structure of things, past skin and bone, past cells, past molecules and atoms. Each layer you move through becomes less certain, more like suggestion than fact. You are shrinking into meaning, into the pulse of what everything truly is, and now you see it, the world beneath the world. You expect particles to be like tiny pebbles, neat and self-contained, but they aren't. They don't sit still. They don't even quite exist in one place at a time. What you find are waves, not made of water, but of possibility. Each one pulses, with maybe, with not dash, here, dash, yet dash, but dash could, dash be, dot electrons, protons, neutrons. They don't follow lines. They blur, they flow. They flicker between states, like a candle flickers in a breeze. You cannot feel. It is a strange beauty. You float past an electron now. It does not behave the way your eyes expect. It doesn't spin like a top. It hums. It hums in a cloud of could-bes. Its position is not a dot, but a haze. It is everywhere it might be until you look. And then, Only then it chooses where to appear. This is the nature of the quantum world. Things are not always things. They are tendencies, likelihoods, dreams leaning toward becoming real. And it isn't just the electrons. You look around and see all the matter of the world behaving this way. The atoms in your pillow, the atoms in your bones. None of them are standing still. None of them are fixed. They all shimmer in their own gentle indecision. You drift farther now, floating deeper into the fabric of what is. You pass a molecule, folding into itself like a paper crane. Its shape is not simple. It depends on tiny fluctuations, movements of electrons, magnetic nudges, silent probabilities. And even these subtle shifts can decide the difference between medicine and poison, life and not life. It all begins here, and even the air you breathe is filled with this quiet dance. You inhale without thinking, but inside that breath are particles darting through space, colliding, transforming. Their paths are not predetermined. They move in ways that cannot be fully known. It is not random. It is not chaos. It is probability, woven into being. Here in this layer of reality, nothing is certain until it must be, until something, a measurement, a moment, a gaze gently collapses the possibility into presence, into something you can touch. But until then, everything waits. Like a story not yet told, you let this truth settle into you. Nothing is ever completely still. Even when you are resting, your atoms move, your cells repair. The protons and electrons in your body still obey these strange rules. They still shimmer and shift, as if listening to a song you cannot hear. You begin to understand the world you live in, the one that feels so solid, so fixed, is built upon constant motion, upon questions, upon maybe. Stillness is only a story your senses tell you to keep the world feeling calm. But deep down, everything vibrates. You move through a lattice of atoms now, the scaffold of what we call solid. It looks like a grid of bright points, each one pulsing softly in the dark. But even here, nothing is truly anchored. The atoms vibrate. They tug at each other gently. They share particles and energy like quiet conversations across great distances. Sometimes, and this is where the magic begins, a particle from one atom disappears and reappears in another, not by traveling the space between, but by being in both places, briefly, elegantly. This is not science fiction. This is the science of your every moment. Your heart beats in rhythm with this hidden motion. Your brain signals in pulses of electricity that depend on the exact shapes of molecules, determined by these same quantum movements. You are, in every way, a being of the quantum world. And yet, you don't need to understand the equations. You only need to feel the rhythm. A rhythm where nothing rests, where movement hides in stillness, where the world below the world breathes a different kind of breath. And now, you find yourself relaxing into this truth. You are not separate from this. You are this. You are made of the same gentle uncertainty. You too are not fixed. You too are capable of shifting, transforming, tunneling through barriers you once thought solid. You smile softly, inwardly, at the thought, what you are is not finished. You feel the floor beneath you again, the mattress cradling your form. But now, you see it differently. The wood, the fabric, the air, they are not hard or cold. they are alive with possibility. You can feel the movement beneath their surfaces, and just beyond that awareness, there's something else, a whisper of a wave, not the kind that crashes, but the kind that passes through quietly, through matter, through time, through understanding. A quantum wave, it does not need to be strong. It only needs to be, and you wonder if particles can move like waves. Could you? Not your body, but your being. Could you ripple through walls, not made of stone, but of belief? Could you exist in more than one version of yourself, just for a moment, and choose the one that fits? What would it mean to be a wave, to dance with uncertainty? These questions don't need immediate answers. They only need space, and tonight, you have all the space you need. You drift at the edge of knowing where nothing is fixed, and everything waits patiently to become. The world beneath the world is not something you conquer. It is something you join, and as you begin to surrender into sleep, you sense that there is more to see, more to become. Particles move not just through space, but through states. They change, they tunnel, and one of them is about to do something impossible. You lie quietly, but you are not still. Not truly within you. Something pulses, not your heart, though that too has its rhythm. No, this is deeper, smaller, quieter. You are a still pond filled with ripples, too fine to see, but always there. You are made of matter, yes, skin, muscle, bone, but matter is not the end of the story. Go small enough, deep enough, and matter gives way to waves, gentle, flickering waves of probability. These waves are not made of water or air. They are made of maybe, and in this space, maybe is everything. Close your eyes and drift. Imagine a single particle, an electron, one of the smallest building blocks of you. In your mind, you try to picture it like a grain of sand, a tiny ball. But when you reach for it, it blurs. Not because it's fast, but because it refuses to be just one thing. The electron is not in a place. It is a place or many. It's like a whisper in a forest. You know it's there, but you can't quite tell where it came from. That's what quantum waves are. Whispers of possibility spread across space. They say, I could be here, or maybe just around the edge of there. And this isn't just one particle, far away in the vacuum of space. It's you. Your breath is waves. Your thoughts are waves. Your being hums with uncertainty, so delicate it becomes its own kind of music. Every part of you carries a wave. Even when you sleep, this waveness is called a wave function. Not a function like in math class, but like a mood, a posture, a presence that hasn't quite solidified until someone looks, until the world pays attention. Until then, you are possibilities gently folded into flesh. You might ask, how can something be both a wave and a particle? But maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe it's not either, but both, or something else entirely. Like light through a stained glass window. Sometimes it looks like a beam, sometimes like color floating in air. It depends on how you watch it. It depends on how you feel. That's the secret the quantum world keeps offering. How you observe a thing shapes what it becomes. Not because you wish it, but because, at the smallest scales, existence itself listens. And now you begin to understand why stillness is an illusion. You are never truly still because your wave is always moving, spreading, shifting, reaching, even when you sleep, especially when you sleep. Imagine this, your body resting, your thoughts drifting, but your wave, exploring, part of you diffusing into the softness of the pillow, part of you brushing against the starlight outside, not in a way you can measure, not in a way anyone can touch, but real in the quietest sense. In quantum space, being is not a point. It is a presence. A presence can be wide. A presence can be soft. A presence can overlap. You have always known this, deep down. When someone walks into a room and changes its feeling, though they say nothing, that's a wave meeting another wave. That's presence. That's quantum language, spoken in silence. Your atoms remember what your mind forgets, that even here, in this body, you are not alone. You are connected to everything that touches your wave. Every surface, every sound, every heartbeat beside you becomes part of your unfolding. Particles interfere like overlapping ripples in a pond. Where they meet, they can amplify or cancel or twist into patterns too intricate to predict. And this interference is not separate from you. It is you. You are not one ripple. You are thousands, layered and layered, dancing softly in the night. And just as your wave flows outward into the world's wave flows into you. The moonlight, the rustling trees, the weight of the blanket, the scent of the air. Each of these presses gently into your field of possibility, shaping it, not loudly, just enough to matter. You've felt it before, that sense that something unseen has changed you, a mood you can't explain, a thought that feels like it came from somewhere beyond your own mind. Maybe it did, not magic, just connection. In this chapter of yourself, you begin to feel that you are more than solid. You are pattern. You are flow. You are the shape a wave makes when it becomes aware of its own edges. So what happens when waves meet walls? You might expect them to bounce back, to be stopped. But sometimes waves do something else entirely. They pass through, even when the wall says no. The wave might whisper, yes, this is quantum tunneling. A wave appears on one side of a barrier, and then on the other, as if the obstacle was never there. Not by force, not by breaking through, but by flowing underneath the rules we thought could not bend. And you are made of these waves. So you, too, carry the possibility of slipping through. What once felt impassable, a thought, a fear, a limit you placed around yourself long ago. Perhaps there is a wave within you now, quiet, patient, preparing to move through. It will not crash. It will not shout. It will hum softly into being. And so, as you drift at the edge of sleep, you begin to wonder. You begin with the memory of weight, the feeling of something solid, something still, the cool surface of a wall, unmoving, the sense that things have edgy limits. You know where you end and the world begins, because you can touch it. And in this space, between thought and sleep, a quiet question arrives. What if not everything solid is as it seems? In your everyday world, a wall is a boundary, a barrier, a place you cannot pass. You stop, you turn, you go another way. You accept that some things are closed to you. The rules are simple. You need force, or a key, or time. But now, the rules are different. In the quantum world, the world beneath, the one you know, barriers behave like riddles. You imagine a single particle. Let's call it yours. This particle is light, not in the way of sunlight, but in the way of possibility. It doesn't know exactly where it is. It's a shimmering maybe, drifting like mist across the stillness. And then a wall appears. It's not made of bricks or wood. It's a field of energy, a line that says, "Beyond here, you may not go." Your particle hesitates, not because it sees the wall, but because it feels the narrowing of possibilities. It slows, it dims. The wave that is your particle begins to shrink, curling inward as it nears the barrier. And then something strange. The wave does not stop. It thins, yes. It trembles, fades, but part of it keeps going. On the far side of the wall, the wave flickers back into form, dimmer, smaller, but there. Your particle has done something impossible. It has passed through. No break, no tunnel dug, no crack found, just slipped through, as if the wall had never fully believed in its own solidity. This is quantum tunneling, a name for the impossible made real not by force, but by uncertainty. You're not alone in finding it unbelievable. For centuries, so did scientists. A wall was supposed to stop a thing. But then they began to see the signs, particles showing up where they shouldn't be, trapped atoms escaping, tiny currents flowing across forbidden spaces. They thought, how? And the answer was this: particles are not points, they are waves. And waves don't end where we expect. Just as the sound of music doesn't stop at the edge of a room, your particle doesn't stop at the wall. Its presence, faint but real, reaches into what was once the beyond. And sometimes that faint reach is enough. Sometimes the universe says, yes, you may go there, not always, not predictably, but enough. You drift deeper into this idea, letting the boundary of your thoughts soften. What if you, too, have passed through walls, not physical ones, but the ones made of memory, of fear, of habit? Times when you thought, I can't, and yet you did. You didn't smash through, you didn't shout. A breath of permission, and it's not just theory. It's in your life, your body. Every time the sun warms your face, you are feeling tunneling. The nuclear furnace inside the sun relies on its protons fusing together, slipping through the energy walls that should keep them apart. Without tunneling, the sun would be cold, and life impossible. Even your cells rely on this ghostly pass-through. Electrons in enzymes tunnel from one place to another, speeding reactions that keep you alive. These electrons don't push, they appear, like echoes finding their source across the gap. Tunneling is not the exception. It is part of your being. You feel this now as a fact, but as a knowing. But now you see, a wall is only a place where possibility narrows, not ends, where the wave fades, but not entirely, and that fading it's not failure. It's part of the dance, because if everything passed through, nothing would have shape, nothing would hold. There would be no sun, no breath, no heartbeat to feel against your chest. Barriers help things become, but so does the chance to move through them. The balance is delicate, like walking on the edge of a dream, one step too firm, and you wake. One step too soft, and you drift too far. But in between, you begin to picture them teeny flickers passing through narrow gates, emerging changed, or simply appearing where once there was only not there, not with noise, not with resistance, just quiet arrival. And you imagine if this happens in the world below the world, what might it mean above? What might pass through the boundaries we think are solid? The quiet between two people, the distance between a thought and an action, the years between who you were and who you become. Maybe these are all tunnels, waiting not for force, but for presence, as you float deeper into sleep. The walls around you feel less like endings and more like invitations, places to pause, places to listen, places to ask, what might pass through if I allow it? And you carry this thought, soft as breath, into the space between this chapter and the next. Even as your body sinks into stillness, a quiet work continues within you. No noise, no motion you can feel. Yet every cell, every atom, holds a small unfolding, so small, it doesn't obey the rules your waking world knows. It belongs to something deeper. You lie here, soft and resting, and deep within your chest, your heart beats once more. You don't tell it to, it simply does, because life, somehow, keeps choosing to continue. But how? To begin to understand, you travel inward, past the curve of your ribs, past the rhythm of your lungs, past the flicker of nerve and pulse. You move into your cells, into the places no eye can see. You find yourself standing on the edge of something impossibly small. A world so tiny, scale begins to lose its meaning. Molecules look like mountains here, atoms like floating suns, and there deep inside is where the tunneling begins. In this place, electrons dance. You see one now teeny, vibrant, more idea than object. It orbits not in a circle, but as a haze, a cloud of maybe. It exists not in one place, but many. It pulses, flickers, sings in the spaces around a nucleus. And suddenly, like a breath through mist, it disappears. A moment later, it reappears somewhere else, no path. They tunnel. They vanish from one place and arrive at another, like whispers jumping across still water. This is how your body keeps going, how it transforms food into energy, how it sends signals, builds molecules, repairs itself, how it breathes quietly even as you sleep. Without tunneling, these reactions would stall, waiting for energy that never comes. With it, they move freely, like secret doorways opening within. It's not just your body. The sun that warms your skin, its light, its fire comes from tunneling. Too high in its core, particles try to fuse. Protons push toward each other, but the force between them repels, like two magnets refusing to touch in the old rules of physics. This should stop them, but at the quantum scale, certainty dissolves. The protons don't need to crash. Instead, they tunnel. Tunneling, silent and unseen, powers the stars. It powers you. It's not grand. It's not loud. It's a quiet defiance of boundaries. And here is what's most beautiful. It does not happen once in a while. It is constant, ordinary, natural. That strangeness, that soft impossibility, lives in you. You are not simply built from atoms, of tunnels still forming, of waves still reaching, even in stillness, especially in stillness. You feel your own breath, now not just the air, but the life inside it, the way oxygen moves into your blood, the way cells carry it forward, the way energy stirs and fades and stirs again. It's not a machine, it's a miracle. And that miracle has quantum roots. In one part of your brain, tiny molecules shift shape with the help of tunneling electrons. These shifts influence signals. Signals shape thought. Thought creates awareness. And awareness creates this moment. This moment where you lie and listen, where the lines blur between science and story, between the particle and the self. You may never feel the tunneling directly, but its echoes are everywhere, in how you think, in how you remember, in how you are. It humbles you, in the softest way, to know that life doesn't always push or pull. Sometimes it simply appears quietly, impossibly, faithfully. You drift deeper, tracing these tunnels with your thoughts. They're not like roads, not straight, not paved, more like folds, impossibility shortcuts, made not by speed, but by being small enough, light enough, uncertain enough, to belong to both sides of a boundary at once. You wonder, what else in life works this way? What if not everything needs to be forced? By softening, by trusting that what lies beyond the wall is not separate, but already part of you. You breathe this idea in, you feel it settle somewhere beneath your ribs, and then you begin to rise. Not your body, but your attention, your awareness. You drift upward through your cells, past molecules and membranes, past your skin and bones, past the gentle hush of your own breath. You carry with you the knowing that you are not only held together by laws and logic, but by the shimmer of possibility, by waves that never stopped, by particles that dared, by something ancient and ongoing, and inside you, it's quiet now, and so are you. But this quiet is not empty. It is full of movement, full of tunnels, full of life, continuing on, unnoticed, and as settle into that, you begin to wonder if tunneling can shape your atoms, if it can light the sun and drive your breath. What happens when particles, in all their uncertainty, meet themselves? What happens when one wave touches another, when quantum paths cross and interfere and pattern? Maybe, just maybe, they begin to intertwine, and maybe so do you. There is a moment just before sleep takes you, when the world seems to hold its breath. A hush spreads through your thoughts, the rhythm of your body slows, and for a few quiet heartbeats, where noise and thought quiet into stillness, if you could shrink smaller, smaller than cells, smaller than atoms, if you could drift deep into the spaces between, you would find something remarkable. You would find that even in the void, something moves. The vacuum, what we once called nothing, is not a dead stillness, not a perfect black. It is alive, with flickers. Particles blink into existence, uninvited, unprovoked. A pair appears a particle and its opposite hand. For a brief, shimmering moment, they exist. Then they vanish again, dissolving back into nothing. This happens all the time, everywhere, even now, right here, in the darkness surrounding your body, inside the space between stars, inside the space between the protons in your atoms. There is always something. They're called virtual particles, not because they're imaginary, but because they do not stay. They exist for too short a time to be seen or held, but long enough to change things. This sea of flickers, it's not chaos. It has rhythm. It hums beneath matter, beneath time, and quantum tunneling listens to this hum. You might picture these virtual particles like sparks in a ripping, glowing, vanishing before you. Can even reach. They pop up in pairs, always. One particle, one twin, matter and antimatter. Opposite energies that cancel each other out. But in the gap between coming and going, possibilities unfold. Sometimes their brief lives create a push, a pressure, a shift. Sometimes they nudge a particle that would otherwise sit still, and suddenly the particle tunnels through a wall into a new place, into being. They are whispers that reshape the universe, not with force, not with sound, but with the quietest sort of presence. This is the sound of nothing, changing everything, and you so still, so quiet can begin to feel it. The idea wraps around your thoughts that what you call silence is only silence to you. To the deeper fabric of the universe, it is a conversation, a constant rustle, the low murmur of reality checking itself, folding over, unfolding again. You float here, weightless in this thought, and you begin to see it, not as a fluke, not as background noise, but as pattern. The vacuum isn't broken, it is the pattern, creation and cancellation, form and fade, a rhythm of appearing just enough to make a difference, then disappearing before being caught. From these brief flickers, entire forces arise. The electromagnetic field, which holds your molecules together, the nuclear forces, keeping the heart of every atom intact, even gravity, whispered by fluctuations, bending space-time ever so slightly. You think of your own thoughts, how sometimes they come like flashes, ideas appearing from nowhere, gone again before you can pin them down, but they nudge you, they change your path. They matter. Isn't that what these particles do too? They come unasked, they leave unnoticed, but they are the hidden architects of what follows. You rest deeper into the dark, and suddenly, that word, nothing, feels softer now. It is not absence. It is invitation in physics. This space, full of virtual flickers, is called the quantum vacuum. But vacuum doesn't mean nothing. It means everything that could be. It's not the opposite of something. It's the birthplace of things. You are wrapped in it, always. You are made in it, always. And every time a particle tunnels from one place to another, it borrows from this vacuum sea a moment of uncertainty, a sliver of possible energy, just enough to make the impossible possible. It always pays the vacuum back. That's the rule. But even this borrowing leaves behind fingerprints, so you lie here, and you wonder how much of what you know, what you are, is shaped by what never stayed, by flickers too short to see, by silences that were, in fact, full of voices. You breathe. In the air feels wider now. You imagine your atoms not rigid, not still, but humming softly with energy borrowed from nothing. You imagine the space between each of them, not hollow, but alive with ghost particles that come and go, like breath in the lungs of the cosmos. This silence, you rest in it, filled with them, and slowly you begin to listen differently, not for sound, but for movement, for possibility, for the waves that pass through nothing, that bend, that build, that carry. For even in a vacuum, waves remain. They ripple through the nothingness, shaping fields, guiding particles, telling them how to move. These waves don't need matter to travel. They are the story, the invisible hand drawing the outlines of reality. And sometimes those waves meet. They interfere, they amplify, they cancel, they pattern a soft hum beneath the hum, a design beneath the randomness. You wonder now if this is what you're made of, too. Flickers and waves, appearing and vanishing, interfering, shaping, maybe. The deepest parts of you don't shout or shine or stay. Maybe they whisper. And perhaps, just perhaps, when enough of those whispers align, something else begins to emerge. Something shared, something woven, something entangled. But what does it mean to be entangled? What happens when particles, once connected, remain connected, no matter how far they drift? Maybe that's where you go next. You lie still, cocooned in darkness. But Somewhere above, far beyond your roof, beyond the clouds, a star is burning. Not wildly, not with chaos, but with precision and patience. The sun, your sun, does not roar like a bonfire. It pulses quietly, billions of times each second, performing the smallest leap over and over again. You've seen it rise in the morning sky, golden and soft, spreading warmth across your skin. But you've never seen what makes it shine. Its secret is quiet and almost impossible at its heart. In a place you'll never touch, but are forever touched by, two tiny particles meet two protons. The bare bones of hydrogen atoms. They carry the same electric charge, and charges like these repel each other. Like magnets flipping away at the last second. They shouldn't be able to come close, not ever, and yet they do. Inside the sun, the heat is enormous, millions of degrees, and pressure-crushing pressure squeezes every particle inward. Still, even that isn't enough. Not on its own. The protons are still too weak to break through, too similar to stick, too alike to attract, and yet they bond because of quantum tunneling. Because deep in the rules that govern the smallest things, there is a doorway through what should be a wall, a path not around, but through. A proton doesn't need to break through the barrier. It can simply appear on the other side. Not always, just sometimes, but sometimes is enough. It happens trillions of times a second. It happens, right? Now you breathe in the dark, warm beneath your blanket, and you carry that warmth because those protons tunnel, they fuse, they transform. Each time they become something new, helium, light, heat, a process called nuclear fusion, a small flicker that adds up to sunlight. You are warmed, always, by particles slipping through. You might imagine it like this: two travelers walking toward each other, each blocked by a high mountain wall. They cannot climb over. They cannot go around, and yet somehow they meet in the middle, because the mountain lets them drift through. If they are quiet enough, if they are small enough, if the rules of the universe agree, and so the sun shines from a tunnel built not of stone or fire, but of chance, of gentle, improbable yeses. The fusion begins with hydrogen, simple, ancient, and builds layer by layer. Helium, carbon, oxygen, the very pieces of your breath, your blood, your bones, your body, is sunlight cooled into form. The atoms in your hands were born in a furnace made of fusion. Each one once flickered at the edge of impossibility and tunneled through. In the sun, this happens at the edge of what can be known. Particles exist not as points, but as waves of probability. You felt this before, though you didn't name it. The feeling of standing between choices, of not being here or there, but somewhere in between. A pause, a blur. This is how protons move in the sun, as possibilities, and sometimes those waves overlap. Sometimes, despite all resistance, they share a moment, and in that moment, something new is born. You close your eyes and imagine it, the slow, endless hum at the heart of the sun, not like fire, but like breath. A gentle glow that builds and builds, then sails across space until it brushes your skin. That warmth is ancient. That warmth is tunnel-born. It left the sun 100,000 years ago, drifting slowly from the center through layers of glowing gas. Only when it reaches the surface does it race, leaping across space in a little over 8 minutes. From star to you, all of that, from a particle slipping through a barrier. You lie here, and suddenly light feels personal. Suddenly warmth feels strange and exquisite, because it is not just energy. It is the quiet memory of a tunneling act, a gentle subversion of the expected, and there is something in that story that feels familiar. How many times in your life have you met a wall only to find that, somehow, you passed through? Not by force, not by will, but by a quiet unfolding. You thought the moment had closed, and yet, somehow, there you were, on the other side. Maybe you, too, tunnel. Maybe parts of you slip past the odds, through emotion, through memory, through time, not all the time, but enough to change something, enough to shine. Now you rest, held by that same sun, warmed by the same fusing particles, lit by the same miracle you once believed was fire. But the truth is quieter than fire. It is subtler than flame dot. It is a dance beneath the surface, a breath shared between protons, a rhythm of permission and chance. And as you drift toward sleep, you may wonder where else such tunneling hides. If it powers stars, what does it do? Inside you, you breathe again, gently. The sun continues to burn, and the warmth you feel is not just heat. It's a quiet story of change, of something becoming something more. But in that warmth, can particles ever meet and never truly part? Again, what happens when the bond stretches across space, yet never breaks? What happens when two things stay connected forever? You lie beneath your covers now, still and soft as dusk, but around you, far beyond you, a universe hums with quiet insistence, and the fact that it hums at all is extraordinary. Because once, long ago, there was nothing, not emptiness, not silence, but nothing, no space to be empty, no time to be still, and yet, here you are, you, with your breath, your pulse, your thoughts that float and flicker, you, who feel warmth on your skin and gravity at your feet. You exist in a universe that could so easily have remained unwritten, but something shifted, a probability tilted, a tunnel opened. Quantum tunneling is not just a feature of small things. It is the thread that may have stitched everything into being. Without it, protons would never fuse, stars would never ignite, atoms would remain solitary, never dancing into molecules, never writing the chemistry of life. Tunneling is what allows particles to become more than they are. It lets them cross the uncrossable. It's a whisper that says, try anyway. Even when a barrier says no, quantum tunneling says, sometimes yes, and sometimes yes is all it takes. You might imagine the early universe as a blank page, so flat, so even, that nothing disturbs it. But fluctuations, tiny, jittery, quantum ones, begin to ripple. Like wind on still water, a patch of energy wavers. A spark of something begins to wonder what it might become. The laws of physics cradle it gently, and through tunneling through a gap that opens where no gap should be, reality slips through. And now, without it, maybe nothing would have changed, but with it, something did. It's strange, isn't it, to think you owe your every thought to a particle, once choosing the improbable, to an opening where none was allowed. The world is full of what should not be, and yet, here it is. You are not separate from this. You are this. The atoms in your chest are borrowed from ancient stars. Stars that burned only because tunneling allowed them to fuse. The water in your blood is held together by bonds that only exist because electrons tunnel between atoms. Even the very stability of matter, why particles don't simply collapse or drift apart, comes, in part, from tunneling's balancing act. Without it, the universe would be mute, dark, still, incomplete, but instead, it flows. And you, too, are part of that flow tonight. As you breathe softly into sleep, you embody a cosmos that dared to bend its own rules, not by breaking them, but by existing in the quiet places between. Tunneling is not the loud force of a hammer or the thunder of something split apart. It's a sigh, a shimmer, a subtle agreement between possibility and being, and it is everywhere, in every cell, in every star, in the formation of DNA, in the firing of neurons. Tunneling quietly guides what can happen. If it were not for this small, strange permission written into the fabric of quantum reality, there may have been no fusion, no atoms, no chemistry, no time, no breath, not just no you, but no anything. And that is the wonder, isn't it, that you're here, in this moment, reading, breathing, existing, proof of a universe that chose to be you. Close your eyes and feel how vast the dark around you really is, but it is not cold or empty. It is the soft envelope of a story that was almost never written, a story told through chance and light, through delicate alignments. You don't need to follow each equation. You only have to feel it, that strange comfort of knowing you are part of something that once did not have to happen, and yet it did, because particles tunnel, because boundaries blur, because nothing isn't always the end. So now you lie still, cradled by physics, by chance, by the gentle persistence of being. The universe didn't need to exist, but it does, and so do you. And if tunneling could make this, what if the universe, in all its tangled light, could connect things that are far apart, not just in space, but in meaning? What if two particles could remain joined, even when separated by galaxies? You lie still beneath soft sheets, your breath slow and steady, and yet, deep inside you, a storm of motion flows, invisible, inaudible, but constant. Your cells speak in a language older than thought. This is the garden of life. Molecules sway like grasses in wind. Atoms lean close and rearrange. And at the very heart of it, the rules of the quantum world quietly whisper, you are more than your body. You are more than your thoughts. You are chemistry, yes, but you are also quantum choreography, a cause, an effect. But this is only the surface. Beneath that, far beneath quantum rules, hold the reins. Imagine, for a moment, the enzyme, a small, elegant machine inside you, built to encourage a specific chemical transformation. A lock fitted perfectly for a single key, but sometimes, even with the perfect fit, a barrier rises between molecules, too high to cross with thermal energy, alone, too wide to leap by classical rules. Still, quantum tunneling opens the gate. Protons, electrons, tiny travelers, slip through those molecular walls, not breaking them, not forcing a path, just moving where they should not be able to. And so the transformation occurs. Because of this, quiet tunneling, biochemistry continues its rhythm, and you remain alive. Every moment, this is happening inside you, in the lining of your lungs, in the processing of light in your eyes, in the twists of your DNA, where tunneling helps protons shift, sometimes even enough to cause a mutation. not always harmful. Sometimes just change. Sometimes evolution. Life grows through tiny uncertainties, through particles that don't stay in their lane, through laws that say almost never. And yet, sometimes, yes, you are, in this way, a story written by improbabilities, told by quantum events echoing in biology. Each decision in a cell's machinery guided not just by logic, but by quantum potential. And it isn't just enzymes and DNA. Your sense of smell, too, may be shaped by tunneling. It was once thought that your nose worked like a lock and key, each scent molecule fitting a matching receptor. But another idea breathes alongside it, that your nose listens to the vibration of molecules, like strings plucked in the dark. And tunneling allows electrons to respond to this music, to leap from one side of a receptor to another, if and only if the vibration is just right. It's as though your nose hears the song of a molecule rather than its shape. And it is quantum rules that allow this hearing. So now, when you catch the scent of rain on soil, or warm bread from a distant kitchen, you can thank the electron that dared to tunnel. This is the poetry of the small. It does not shout, it hums. It does not force its way into your attention, but it is there, in every breath, every cell, every flicker of perception. The boundary between biology and quantum physics is not sharp. It is soft, blending like twilight into night. You, a living being, are a bridge between the classical and the quantum, between what is seen and what is only felt, and while you sleep. This bridge continues to build itself, bit by bit, from molecules that choose impossible paths. Your memories, their formation, their recall, may even echo with quantum motion. In your brain, particles exist in clouds, and those clouds influence how signals pass, how choices are made, how meaning arises. You are not a machine, predictable and fixed. You are not a chaos, random and lost. You are something in between. You are a probability wrapped in skin, a maybe that breathes. You are what happens when quantum rules shape life itself. And this shaping began long before you. It began in the earliest bacteria, in photosynthetic reactions that rely on light, where energy, once captured, follows quantum rules to move without loss, without delay. Through tunneling, light's gift is guided to where it's needed most. Plants, too, are tuned to this subtle truth. They use quantum effects to harvest sunlight more efficiently than classical physics allows. So in every leaf you pass, every tree that bends with wind, there is quantum choreography in motion. Life, then, is not separate from the strange. Life is the strange, structured, repeating, ordered, but born of the wildest ideas the universe allows, and you, tucked now in quiet darkness, are the result of these rules playing out again and again, in patterns too fine to see, in changes too small to measure, but not too small to matter, because without them, your enzymes would falter. Your DNA would stall, your senses would be silent, your breath, your warmth, your mind, they would not arrive. But they have arrived, you have arrived, a ripple in this great, uncertain sea. Tonight, you rest in the care of quantum life, your body humming softly with the memory of the improbable, and the promise that strangeness holds you still. And as you drift deeper now, wrapped in warmth, carried gently on each breath, you might begin to wonder if tunneling can shape the living, can hold a cell together, can stir a memory. Can tune ascent? What else can it connect? What happens when one particle changes and another, far, far away, responds? You have come far, not in distance, but in depth, through layers of matter, into the quiet places where certainty dissolves. Your breath is steady now, each inhale a tide, each exhale a retreat. And beneath it, all beneath your resting body, the strange world stirs. Gently you've followed particles into their shimmering dance, watched them tunnel through what should be impossible. You've seen the sun light itself with borrowed paths, felt how life itself leans on things that cannot be forced. And now you drift between two states, not quite awake, not quite asleep. Here, possibility becomes the landscape. It's soft here, not empty, but undefined. You are like an electron balanced near a barrier, not certain where you are, only that you might be. In this place, you don't push forward, you don't climb, you don't demand, you dissolve. You surrender to the wave. You let your edges blur. This is not giving up, it is tunneling. Even in sleep, there are barriers, not just walls, not just doors, but the ones you carry inside, thoughts that cling, questions that echo. And yet tonight, like a particle, you find the quiet courage to pass through. Not because you're strong, but because you're light, because you're willing. You let your mind open just wide enough for the improbable to become real. You don't force the dream. You wait, like a particle, just near enough to the edge. And when the time is right, you slip through into the dream. It's not so different from tunneling, after all. No footsteps, no cracking open, just transition, one side to another, with no need to explain the in-between. And here on this other side, a new terrain opens, not governed by logic or rules, but by resonance, by intuition, by drift. Your dream self is born gently, not from facts, but from possibility. Like a wave collapsing into form, you are not bound by clocks here. You are not bound by mass. You move like light through water, slow, then fast, still, then blooming. Perhaps you're walking through a forest, each tree pulsing with quiet awareness. Perhaps you're floating above a sea that remembers stars it once reflected. The dream doesn't follow maps. It follows coherence, the subtle alignment between thoughts and wonder. It unfolds the way tunneling unfolds, not because the destination is near, but because the barrier is thin in just the right moment. And just like in the world of atoms, it isn't always predictable, but it is real. Your dream life is not a lie. It is another kind of truth, one that breathes sideways, one that teaches in silence, one that reflects you not as you were, but as you could become. And there are truths in dreams that echo the quantum world, like superposition, where two things can be true at once. Here, you can be child and elder, bird and mountain, longing and peace, like entanglement, where distance disappears. Here, someone you love can be beside you again, without having to arrive, or interference, where the waves of thought amplify, and something hidden in waking life comes forward to speak. In this dream, everything is gentle motion, no need for explanation, no need to decide. You are being dreamt as much as you are dreaming. You are a ripple in this inner night, a song remembered by the quietest part of you. And as your body lies still, your mind continues to unfold, not with effort, but with ease. You are learning without knowing. You are changing without trying. You are becoming without needing to leave. This is your inner tunnel, not made of stone, not made of atoms, but of surrender, of willingness to pass through the small space between knowing and unknowing. And when you wake, not now, but later, something may have shifted. Not everything, but maybe just enough. A decision softened, a worry stilled, a thread rejoined, because, like quantum tunneling, your dream did not need permission, only the chance to try. So rest here, let yourself stay in this lucid, glowing silence. You are exactly where you need to be, and if your mind stirs, let it stir like starlight, gentle, far, and safe, because the strange world you've traveled through is not separate from you. It lives in your atoms, it lives in your choices, it lives in your dreams. And perhaps now, as this chapter fades into the dark, you begin to wonder if even dreams